Have you ever promised God you'd never fail, and then failed anyway? Peter once said he would never abandon Jesus. He meant it with all his heart. But before the sun rose, fear took over, and Peter did the very thing he swore he never would. This is the story of Peter, a man who walked on water, sank in fear, failed publicly, and still discovered a grace that changed everything. An ordinary man with an extraordinary call. Peter was not a religious leader. He was not educated or powerful. He was a fisherman. Every day, Peter worked with his hands, pulling heavy nets from the water, hoping for a good catch. His life was simple, predictable, and hard, until one day everything changed. One morning, a man named Jesus stepped into Peter's boat. Jesus told him to push out into deeper water and lower the nets. Peter had already been fishing all night and caught nothing. He was tired, frustrated, ready to go home. But Peter listened. When he dropped the nets, they filled with so many fish that the nets began to tear. Peter was shocked. He fell to his knees and said, "I am not worthy to be near you." But Jesus didn't push him away. Instead, Jesus said something unexpected. "Follow me, and I will make you a fisher of people." In that moment, Peter left his nets, his boat, and his old life behind. He followed Jesus, not because he understood everything, but because something in his heart told him this was the right step. Peter was bold. He spoke quickly. He acted without thinking. He loved deeply and believed strongly. And Jesus chose him, not because he was perfect, but because he was willing. Faith, failure, and fear. Peter became one of Jesus' closest followers. He witnessed miracles, the sick healed, the blind seeing, storms calming with a single command. One night, Jesus sent his followers across the sea while he stayed behind to pray. A storm rose and the waves crashed against their boat. Suddenly, they saw someone walking on the water toward them. It was Jesus. Peter did something no one else dared to do. He stepped out of the boat and walked on the water toward Jesus. But when Peter noticed the wind and the waves, fear took over. He began to sink. "Lord, save me," he cried. Jesus reached out and pulled him up. Peter had faith, but fear often followed close behind. Later, Jesus told Peter that hard days were coming. He said Peter would deny knowing him. Peter strongly disagreed. "I will never deny you," Peter said. "I am ready to die for you." Peter truly believed that. But then Jesus was arrested. He was beaten and taken away. Fear filled the city. Peter followed at a distance, watching from the shadows. That night, people began to recognize him. "You were with Jesus," someone said. Peter panicked. "I don't know him," he replied. 3 times, Peter denied knowing Jesus. And just as Jesus had said, a rooster crowed. Peter realized what he had done. The man who promised loyalty had failed. The man who claimed courage had given in to fear. Peter broke down and wept. He felt ashamed, broken, unworthy. Grace, restoration, and purpose. A few days later, Jesus was crucified and buried. Peter believed it was over, not just Jesus' life, but his own calling. But the story didn't end there. Jesus rose from the dead. After his resurrection, Jesus met Peter by the sea, the same place where their journey first began. They shared a simple meal together. No accusations, no anger. Then Jesus asked Peter one question. "Do you love me?" Peter answered, "Yes, Lord." Jesus asked again, and again, 3 times, once for each denial. Each time Peter answered, Jesus gave him a mission. Feed my sheep. Jesus wasn't reminding Peter of his failure. He was restoring him. Peter learned something powerful that day. Failure does not disqualify you. Grace restores you. Peter went on to become a leader, a preacher, and a witness of hope. The same man who denied Jesus out of fear later stood boldly before crowds, speaking with courage and faith. Why Peter's story matters. Peter's story is not about perfection. It's about transformation. He doubted. He failed. He was afraid. Yet he was still chosen, still forgiven, still used. If you've ever felt weak in faith, if you've ever made promises you couldn't keep, if you've ever felt like you failed God, Peter's story reminds us that grace is bigger than our mistakes. God doesn't look for perfect people. He looks for honest hearts willing to rise again.